I'm Mike Harson. As district attorney, I have always believed that justice was about serving victims and their families. Talk is easy, but if we truly care, then we can make a real difference in their lives. Being DA is about prosecuting criminals, but it doesn't end there. It's also about helping to heal the pain and suffering that the victims and their families feel. That's always been my goal as your district attorney, and I humbly ask that you allow me to continue that work.
My name is Ronnie Stelly. This is a letter to District Attorney Mike Harson, Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office, and former ADA running for District Judge Laurie Hulin. Mr. Harson, I sit here and watch a video where you say that you believe justice is about serving the victims. On the day of August 19th of 2013, my father, a 20-year veteran with the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office, was savagely attacked on his own property by 3 members of our extended family. He was hit and kicked from the side and his back while trying to hold on to his 80-plus-year-old mother to keep her from falling down the steps. During this attack, my father's leg was kicked and broken in 3 different locations. The doctors have since placed my father on disability and said he can no longer work. The failures of the 15th Judicial began with law enforcement. The VPSO and the 2 officers who worked the case, Deputy Andrew Conkle and Lieutenant Raymond Thibodeau, grossly mishandled the entire situation from start to finish. My father had to be carried by ambulance to the hospital where he found out that his leg was broken in 3 different locations due to a side kick. Also, his nose was busted, his fingers were broke, and he would have to have major surgery. The attackers had no marks on them. The only witness to the attack who had no relation to anyone stated clearly they attacked him. Criminal Code RS 1434.1 states a second-degree battery is a battery where the offender intentionally afflicts serious bodily injury. However, this provision shall not apply to a medical provider who has obtained the consent of a patient. Clause 3 states that serious bodily injury means bodily injury which involves unconsciousness, extreme physical pain, or protracted or obvious disfigurement, or protracted loss or impairment of function of a bodily member, organ, or mental function, or a substantial risk of death. No arrest was made by the officers, even though my father was carted off in an ambulance. This was a failure of the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office and the lieutenant on duty. Me not being a deputy or a lawyer, I can only say I see things from a citizen's perspective. When people say attacked a man on his own property unmarked by a man who was a self-defense instructor for the VPSO for years, spent years working and fighting criminals in Vermilion Parish, I think the evidence supports the claim. After speaking with Mike Couvillion, Sheriff of Vermilion Parish, and his captain Kirk Frith of the VPSO, I was asked not to retaliate and to let the system work. No one was ever arrested, the charges were flowed as they say, and the case was handled by Assistant District Attorney Laurie Hulin, who is now running for District Judge. Even with overwhelming evidence of my father's attack, including pictures, emergency room reports stating the level of his injuries, which were severe, she didn't deem it important enough to file charges. She brought it in front of grand jury. A grand jury is held in secret, where you cannot speak about what goes on behind those doors, or you can be charged and arrested. When I was told about this, I knew exactly what was going on. They went to the grand jury and they found no true bill on the 2 adults who attacked my father. Whenever I expressed my concern at the fact that Miss Hulin didn't contact the doctor handling my father's knee surgeries because he stated clearly to our entire family that our father's injuries could not have been from a fall during the fight, his leg was kicked with a force to break. And 2, why weren't charges filed, and how can you look at my father's injuries and not take this to trial? Miss Hulin threatened to read me my rights and have me arrested every time I called her out on her blatant failures and mishandling of my father's case. After not holding the 2 adults who committed the felony battery on my father responsible, she filed charges on a third party that committed the act. A 14-year-old boy who merely punched my father in the back a couple times while he was being held by the hands and punched and kicked by 2 grown adults. During his case, ADA Laurie Hulin made a plea deal with his family without the agreement of the victim, which was my father, that offered the juvenile no jail time, made the family pay no restitution. My father adamantly denied the deal, saying very loudly, "He didn't do this. His parent, grandmother did this, so I'm not sticking him with their crimes." Miss Hulin's response was only, "We made the deal and that's it." Now, Mr. Harson, you cannot, under any circumstances, claim you know nothing about this, because on 2 different occasions after trying for weeks, both times I spoke with you. The first time you said you would look into it and never returned my call. The second time you spewed the same story Miss Hulin did about how you both felt my dad, who is not a doctor, could better articulate his injuries than a doctor with years of experience at doing the type of knee surgeries that he performed on my dad. Mr. Harson, I found it insulting that you and your office did this to my father, who spent 19 years with the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office, serving the very justice system that you proved to him without a shadow of a doubt does not always serve the victim. My father retired from the VPSO with honors as a lieutenant, still loved and respected by his peers. He, as well as many other citizens of the main parish in Acadiana, deserve better than you. Or they deserve better of you. You air a commercial with a woman asking Keith to stop airing commercials about her daughter. Well, I have a request for you, Miss Hulin, and senior members of the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office. Mr. Harson, please stop airing commercials saying you are about the victims. My father accrued over $60,000 in medical bills, and he has deductibles he has to pay out of pocket, but he can't work because he was disabled by the same people you and Miss Hulin refused to hold accountable for their actions. You cannot say you are about the victims when I can stand here and prove that you and your administration are not. Miss Hulin, I ask that you remove yourself from the judge's race, or that the people of Vermilion Parish see you for who you really are. My father was a victim of a savage attack on his own property, and you chose to help the criminals. If I am lying, then please explain to me why these criminals who committed a felony on my father now happily display your sign in their yard. Sheriff Mike Couvillion, we always supported you and voted for you. Our entire family stood by you from the first race till now. I ask that you release Lieutenant Raymond Thibodeau's disciplinary records to the public, and if some of the rumors about him are true, then give the public an explanation as to why this man still has a badge and is allowed to direct people. Also, I believe you owe my father an apology for failing a man who served your department for 19 years happily and willingly. Captain Kirk Frith, you attended my grandfather's funeral, and we considered you a family friend. However, since the failures of your office, we have not seen or heard from any of you. My only statement to you is, when do we get the justice you told me was coming for the criminals who attacked my father? I'm still waiting for a phone call explaining when it's going to happen. I do not know if any of my statements will make a difference in this election, but I do know the citizens of this area that I know and love can now understand the truth a little bit better than they did before. God bless you, and vote strong. Remember that change is needed from the ground up. You cannot vote in the old guard and expect things to be different. We are doomed. We are doomed from the past. The best way I can say it. If we forget the past, we are doomed to repeat it. Thank you.